Rolling. All right, up front, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. The device that I'm about to talk about is the tool for getting the smoothest, shiniest top-end vocals without being harsh. And we're definitely gonna dive into the examples. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Over the last few months, I've been trying to acquire gear and build a vocal chain that is the coolest chain for my wife, Katrina, something that's uniquely hers. I have the mic, I have the preamp, I have the FET compressor, I have the LA2A style compressor, but I have to still deal with these S's. Now, I'll probably get an EQ as well, but that's for a later time and a totally different topic. So I started looking high and low for a de-esser. I looked at Empirical Labs, I looked at SPLDS. Of course, there's all the in-the-box stuff, but again, we're trying to do something unique and cool and have its own sound. So looking out of the box, I started looking for maybe some more boutique companies that do their own thing, and I came across XQP. And right on their website, they have this really cool special 25th anniversary edition de-esser, optical de-esser. But there was a problem. I couldn't find any information on the internet about this particular unit. Now, I'm super lucky because I reached out to Dane from XQP, and he put so much faith in me to make a video about these units and demo them so that not only I could know how they sound, but you could know how they sound. And I just think that's pretty special. So a massive thank you to Dane for making this happen. And if you're not familiar with XQP, go check them out. They have some really cool designs, compressors, EQs. They got a lot of really cool designs. So definitely check them out. Links in the description. Now, if you could also do me a massive favor, hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the XQP lineup when you head over to their website. And also subscribe to the channel for all things UAD and Luna. And to support the channel further, you can go to thestevekinney.com. I have UAD 2 presets available, UAD native presets available, Luna presets available. It's just a great trade to support the channel. These videos take a lot of time, and in order for me to keep making them, pushing them out in a high volume, I need to find the time to do that, and that's a great way to make that happen. So for everyone that supports the channel, thank you. Let's talk about the unit. Now, the unit is currently sitting in the rack, and we're about to do some demos right now, but just a little about the unit. It is a 25th year special anniversary edition XQP 2531. It's a 500 series de-esser module designed to the VPR Alliance standards, so it should work with all VPR 500 series chassis. As I said earlier, this unit commemorates the 25th anniversary of the design, which began with the Dane number 31. And this one features a selectable 4-position rotary switch, feed forward, feedback, and blend modes for getting slightly different types of de-essing. Rotary switch for reduction control paired with a range toggle switch, so you can get like very specific increments once you start adding like a lot of de-essing. And I really love all of these stepped controls because then it allows me to recall any session. There's a lot, like my SSLs, right? They're just completely variable. You almost have to guesstimate where you're putting your recalls at. So I love that they made everything stepped. That's an awesome touch. Now, while there's only 25 of these units in existence, I'm sure that if there was huge demand and all of my channel subscribers wanted some, I'm sure that they would maybe, due to popular demand, start making them for everybody. But I'll just say this is one of the most gorgeous units for 500 series I've seen yet. Just sitting in my rack right now against the purple and the SSL and the Iron Age, it just has its own special sheen to it. Almost looks like something like an LA2A. Just beautiful. The pictures definitely don't do it justice. It looks way nicer, and it's got weight too when you pick the unit up. So it's a great unit. Now let's take a look at what it can do for a vocal. Now, I've pulled up an older track of Cats. The vocal just had nasty problems all over the S range. I chose to use this one on purpose because I wanted to see what the unit could do, how it would handle a really bad S problem in a track. All right, cool. So let's take a look at what this actually sounds like in a mix, and also just run through the gamut on some of the stuff. I've got the Pro Q up here just so you guys can see what's happening in Analyzer, so you guys can see how it's controlling everything. I've already dialed in the settings, but we have it out right now. So let's listen to this track so you guys can get a feel And also maybe turn your headphone volumes down just a hair because the S's are pretty sharp, especially if you've got something like these DTs. They hype that 7K area. So here we go.
It was the first time I let a good thing go and tried not to chase it. I didn't want to hold too tight. I didn't want to break it. I still think of you sometimes and smile and pray that you're doing fine out there in the unknown. I hope the light in you is shining bright. But if you ever want to come to Tennessee, if you ever wonder where this will lead, I'm being honest. I'll make you a promise.
Okay, cool. So that's the bass line there. As you can see, there's a lot of S's in the track with the lyrics, but they're really kind of very present, poking out a lot. And why that happens is because with the 1176, the way that it attacks, and then you combine that with an LA2A, all of those S's are just poking through and they're being amplified more so than they normally would. So a great way to control that is to de-ess before compression. That's one way to handle it. So let's put it in and see what you guys think.
It was the first time I let a good thing go and tried not to chase it. I didn't want to hold too tight. I didn't want to break it. I still think of you sometimes and smile and pray that you're doing fine out there in the unknown. I hope the light in you is shining bright. But if you ever want to come to Tennessee, if you ever wonder where this will lead, I'm being honest. I'll make you a promise. If you ever get tired of being alone, you wanna rock and roll this rolling stone, don't overthink it. Just buy a ticket. I'm gonna love you and I'm gonna set you free. But if you ever wanna come to Tennessee.
There you go. Okay, cool. So really incredibly musical there. Like, it's not giving you any sort of artifacting of how a traditional de-esser in the software might just like focus in on one area. It's kind of grabbing the whole thing, rounding the whole thing off. Now, you could go too far with it and then it would sound artifacty, but obviously the goal is to not do that. So another thing that I noticed too, let's talk about this and let's listen on its own too. So one thing that this track had a huge problem with was the S in this area. And what I noticed was that the way that this device kind of grabs on to that top end, if you kind of compensate for it before you hit it, you get better results. So let's listen to it without these bands. And let's listen to it again.
It was the first time I let a good thing go and tried not to chase it. I didn't want to hold too tight. I didn't want to break it. I still think of you sometimes and smile and pray that you're doing fine out there in the unknown. I hope the light in you is shining bright. But if you ever want to come to Tennessee, if you ever wonder where this will lead, I'm being honest. I'll make you a promise. If you ever get tired of being alone, you wanna rock and roll this rolling stone, don't overthink it. Just buy a ticket.
So now let's throw those back in.
I wanna come to Tennessee. If you ever wonder where this will lead, I'm being honest. I'll make you a promise. If you ever get tired of being alone, you wanna rock and roll this rolling stone, don't overthink it. Just buy a ticket. I'm gonna love you and I'm gonna set you free. But if you ever wanna come to Tennessee.
So super subtle stuff that's happening there. Again, a traditional de-esser like the Sonics de-esser or another software de-esser is going to really hyper focus in on like one selected frequency, and then you could get some sort of artifacting. Let's take a look at an example of that as well. Here's an example of the de-esser built into Logic. Let's listen to that.
It was the first time I let a good thing go and tried not to chase it. I didn't want to hold too tight. I didn't want to break it. I still think of you sometimes and smile and pray that you're doing fine out there in the unknown. I hope the light in you is shining bright. But if you ever want to come to Tennessee, if you ever wonder where this will lead, I'm being honest.
You really start to get that lispy sound. Even though you're controlling what you want to control, you have that tendency to kind of go down that path pretty quickly. Whereas with something like this de-esser, this hardware one, kind of grabbing and controlling the whole thing with the like optical compression, again, it's just so realistic and smooth. It's what you hear on the radio. It's that sound that you're trying to get and search for. So do all your compensating moves on the way into it. Let the hardware do the hard work after. Now let's also take this too far. Let's listen to what this unit sounds like if you just went way too far with it. And I like that if we try to go too far with the unit, it's still not anywhere as close to what you'd get with something like the software de-esser. So let's dial this in. So the feed forward is really intense and the W band becomes really intense. We've already got it dimed at 10. So let's take a listen.
It was the first time I let a good thing go and tried not to chase it. I didn't want to hold too tight. I didn't want to break it. I still think of you sometimes and smile and pray that you're doing fine out there in the unknown. I hope the light in you is shining bright. But if you ever want to come to Tennessee, if you ever wonder where this will lead, I'm being honest. I'll make you a promise.
Yeah, so when you pull that band all the way back to that W band and you turn the de-essing all the way up, once your singer starts to go into that range, if your singer starts to sing a higher note that starts pushing a lot of frequencies up into that 1K area, now you're actually going to start to get some of that compression. Obviously, you'd want to dial it back a bit, but it does kind of show off that it can do that as well. It's almost like a multi-band compressor just in that high-end area. So pretty useful tool. But the coolest part about the whole thing is that even though we're taking it to its extreme, it's still incredibly musical. I like that you can't really take the unit too far. It doesn't break. It's cool when units can be pushed to their absolute limit and they still produce a musical result. After getting to know the unit, I think that this unit does an incredible job of controlling the top end in a really pleasing way so that it's not harsh, which is exactly what you want on a vocal. It would be really interesting to hear how it works on a mix. You could probably throw it on a mix bus and that would be cool, but I don't have two of them, so I don't really have the chance to test that out. But I'd imagine it'd work pretty well. I'll say this, it's not gonna fix a bad recording. So in the case of Cat's track that I have up here, that had just a weird artifact in one area. With some de-essers like the Sonics or the stock Logic de-esser, for one, you can almost completely eliminate that certain frequency, which is gonna sound artifacty. Being that it controls the top end of your track in a really musical way, if you think of it like compensating on the front side going into the compressor, now you can kind of find that problematic frequency, use an EQ and kind of pull it down a bit and not just get rid of it, right? Because that's getting rid of the sound of your instrument, the sound of your vocalist, and you're doing weird filtering that you might not need to do. Now you've got that full track, the full frequency, and it's rounding it off in a really musical way. So when I first fired up the unit, I think I was expecting something like the Sonics de-esser, but just in hardware form. And I was a bit disappointed at first. I was like, what is this actually doing? I couldn't hear it. And the reason was because in this track that I started testing it on, it wasn't getting rid of that problem frequency that I heard. It was just controlling it. So initially I was like, dang, right? Initially I was like, what is this doing? What am I actually doing here? And then once I started toying around and realizing it, the more I tweaked, the more I got used to the device and what it's doing, the more I absolutely fell in love with it. And I'm like, wow, this unit is definitely going to be sticking around, and it's going to be a secret weapon for my vocals and my vocal chain for people that I work with. And again, it's not going to fix a badly recorded vocal. If your vocal has all sorts of nasty frequencies, then you're going to have to do something to correct that in the first place. But if it's one of those things where your S's are poking out a little bit, this unit is going to put that finishing polish to make your vocal a hit vocal. Definitely going in the secret sauce bin. So go check out XQP and grab one of these units while you can. Again, if there's only 25 of them, they're probably not going to last very long. But they've also got the other one, the 531, which has it shares a lot of similar things. And of course they have other stuff too. They've got EQs. They've got like a Bax EQ that I'm probably hopefully going to take a look at as well. They've got the optical disruptor is like super popular and well known for being like a really unique thing. So really cool stuff. If you guys have made it this far into the video, please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on XQP and their product line. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can go to thestevekinney.com, schedule one-on-one time with me. You can also pick up some presets for UAD and UAD native, Luna, etc. So that's a great way to do that. I really would love to make a lot more videos for the rest of this back half of this year. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for that. For all things UAD and Luna, please stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.